Famous people who passed away in 1795. Before we proceed, please subscribe to our channel to support us. John Sullivan. He was born in February 1740 and he died in January 1795. His age was 54 at the time of his death, and the reason for his death was undisclosed. He was an American general in Continental Army and played a key role in battles like Trenton and Rhode Island. He later became governor of New Hampshire. Richard Clark. He was born in May 1711 and he died in February 1795. His age was 83 at the time of his death, and the reason for his death was undisclosed. He was a prominent Boston merchant and loyalist in the late 18th century. His company, Richard Clark and Sons, was chosen as factors of the British East India Company and were among consignees of the tea which was thrown into Boston Harbor in December 1773 as part of the Boston Tea Party. Richard Clinton. He was born in 1720 and he died in January 1795. His age was 75 at the time of his death, and the reason for his death was undisclosed. He was an American Revolutionary War officer in the Continental Army, a member of North Carolina General Assembly, a Register of Deeds for Duplin County, and a prominent citizen of Sampson County. Ezra Stiles. He was born in November 1727 and he died in May 1795. His age was 67 at the time of his death, and the reason for his death was undisclosed. He was an American educator, academic, Congregationalist minister, theologian, and author. He is noted as the 7th president of Yale College from 1778 to 1795 and one of the founders of Brown University. Samuel Cook Sullivan. He was born in November 1742 and he died in February 1795. His age was 53 at the time of his death, and the reason for his death was undisclosed. He was a member of Connecticut House of Representatives from Norwalk. He served several non-consecutive terms, starting in 1779 and ending in 1794. Robert Rogers. He was born in November 1731 and he died in May 1795. His age was 63 at the time of his death, and the reason for his death was undisclosed. He was a British Army officer and frontiersman. Born in Massachusetts, he fought in King George's War, the French and Indian War, and the American Revolutionary War. During the French and Indian War, Rogers raised and commanded Rogers Rangers, a ranger unit trained for carrying out asymmetric warfare. John Collins. He was born in June 1717 and he died in March 1795. His age was 77 at the time of his death, and the reason for his death was undisclosed. He was an American politician and a founding father of the United States who, as a member of Continental Congress, signed the Articles of Confederation. He was the third governor of the United States, state of Rhode Island, from 1786 to 1790. Josiah Bartlett. He was born in November 1729 and he died in May 1795. His age was 65 at the time of his death, and the reason for his death was paralysis. He was an American founding father, physician, statesman, a delegate to the Continental Congress for New Hampshire, a signatory of the Declaration of Independence and Articles of Confederation. He was a member of the convention which framed the Constitution of the United States in 1787. John Armstrong Sr. He was born in October 1717 and he died in March 1795. His age was 77 at the time of his death, and the reason for his death was undisclosed. He was an American civil engineer and soldier who served as a brigadier general. in the Continental Army and as a major general in the Pennsylvania militia during the Revolutionary War. Timothy Ruggles. He was born in October 1711 and he died in August 1795. His age was 83 at the time of his death, and the reason for his death was undisclosed. He was an American colonial military leader, jurist, and politician. He was a delegate to the Stamp Act Congress of 1765, and later as a loyalist during the American Revolutionary War. Jonathan Buck. He was born in February 1719 and he died in March 1795. His age was 76 at the time of his death, and the reason for his death was undisclosed. He was a justice of the peace and is the subject of a legend that holds that he ordered a witch put to death by burning, and this witch put a curse on his tomb. He is also the founder of the town of Bucksport. William Bradford. He was born in September 1755 and he died in August 1795. His age was 39 at the time of his death, and the reason for his death was undisclosed. He was an American lawyer and judge from Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, and the second United States Attorney General in 1794 to 1795, who played a significant role in shaping the early American legal system. Incas Mosley. He was born in May 1712 and he died in May 1795. His age was 82 at the time of his death, and the reason for his death was undisclosed. He was an American politician and government officer who served as Speaker of Vermont House of Representatives. Samuel Francis. He was born in 1722 and he died in October 1795. His age was 73 at the time of his death, and the reason for his death was undisclosed. He was an American tavern owner in New York City, which was a meeting place for revolutionary figures, and he later served as George Washington's steward. Zebulon Butler. He was born in January 1731 and he died in July 1795. His age was 64 at the time of his death, and the reason for his death was undisclosed. He was an American military officer and politician from Connecticut who served with the Continental Army during the Revolutionary War. He represented the Wyoming Valley in the Connecticut Assembly. Josiah Wedgwood. He was born in July 1730 and he died in January 1795. His age was 64 at the time of his death, and the reason for his death was cancer. He was an English potter, entrepreneur, and abolitionist, founding the Wedgwood Company in 1759. He developed improved pottery bodies by systematic experimentation and was the leader in the industrialization of the manufacture of European pottery. William Fleming. He was born in February 1729 and he died in August 1795. His age was 68 at the time of his death, and the reason for his death was undisclosed. He was an American physician, soldier, politician, and planter who served as local justice of peace in the mountains of southwestern Virginia and Kentucky, as well as in the Senate of Virginia, and briefly acted as the governor of Virginia during the American Revolutionary War. Samuel Wallace. He was born in April 1728 and he died in January 1795. His age was 71 at the time of his death, and the reason for his death was dysentery. He was a British naval officer and explorer of the Pacific Ocean who made the first recorded visit by a European navigator to Tahiti. William Prescott. He was born in February 1726 and he died in October 1795. His age was 69 at the time of his death, and the reason for his death was dropsy of the chest. He was an American colonel famous for his role in the Battle of Bunker Hill, remembered for the command, "Don't fire until you see the whites of their eyes." James Craig, he was born in October 1739 and he died in June 1795. His age was 55 at the time of his death, and the reason for his death was tuberculosis. He was a Scottish architect who worked mostly in lowlands of the country and especially his native city of Edinburgh. He is remembered primarily for his layout of the first Edinburgh New Town. John Walsh, he was born in July 1726 and he died in March 1795. His age was 68 at the time of his death, and the reason for his death was undisclosed. He was a British scientist and secretary to the Governor of Bengal. He was the son of Joseph Walsh, secretary to the Governor of Fort St. George, and the cousin of Neville Maskelyne, the Astronomer Royal, and his sister Margaret, the wife of Lord Clive. Jerry Abershaw, he was born in 1773 and he died in August 1795. His age was 22 at the time of his death, and the reason for his death was execution. He was a notorious highwayman in England, executed for his crimes at a young age, becoming a subject of local legend. Robert Bakewell, he was born in May 1725 and he died in October 1795. His age was 70 at the time of his death, and the reason for his death was undisclosed. He was an English agriculturist, now recognized as one of the most important figures in the British agricultural revolution. In addition to work in agronomy, Bakewell is particularly notable for the first to implement systemic selective breeding of livestock. George Dixon, he was born in 1748 and he died in November 1795. His age was 47 at the time of his death, and the reason for his death was undisclosed. He was an English sea captain, explorer, and maritime fur trader. He served under Captain Cook in his third voyage on HMS Resolution. In the course of voyage, he learned about commercial possibilities along the northwest coast of America. Jean-Jacques Barthélemy, he was born in January 1716 and he died in April 1795. His age was 79 at the time of his death, and the reason for his death was undisclosed. He was a French Catholic clergyman, archaeologist, numismatologist, and scholar who became the first person to decipher an extinct language. He deciphered the Palmyrene alphabet in 1754 and the Phoenician alphabet in 1758. Onan Quanton Fukitavila, he was born in June 1746 and he died in May 1795. His age was 48 at the time of his death, and the reason for his death was execution. He was a key figure during the French Revolution, serving as a public prosecutor for a revolutionary tribunal, ultimately executed for his role. Pierre-Joseph Dussault, he was born in February 1738 and he died in June 1795. His age was 57 at the time of his death, and the reason for his death was undisclosed. He was a pioneering French surgeon who improved surgical practices and was known for his anatomical research. Louis XVII of France, he was born in March 1785 and he died in June 1795. His age was 10 at the time of his death, and the reason for his death was scrofulous. He was the son of King Louis XVI, lived a tragic life, imprisoned and mistreated during the Revolution, dying young in captivity. Jat Rama. He was born in March 1750 and he died in June 1795. His age was 45 at the time of his death, and he took his own life. He was a French politician and mathematician who developed the French Republican calendar. He was an influential figure in establishing the metric system in France, taking his life after the fall of the Jacobin government. Marie Marguerite Béraud. She was born in November 1719 and she died in June 1795. Her age was 75 at the time of her death, and the reason for her death was undisclosed. She was a renowned French anatomist who created detailed wax models for teaching and medical research, enhancing the understanding of human anatomy. Louis-Georges de Brecheny. He was born in February 1714 and he died in July 1795. His age was 81 at the time of his death, and the reason for his death was undisclosed. He was a French historian instrumental in publishing critical editions of French medieval and early modern historical records. François-André Danicourt-Philidor. He was born in September 1726 and he died in August 1795. His age was 68 at the time of his death, and the reason for his death was undisclosed. He was a celebrated composer of operas and a pioneering chess player known for his strategic insights into the game. A well-known chess opening and game position and a checkmate method are all named after him. Louis Grégoire Deschamps de Tournelle. He was born in May 1744 and he died in July 1795. His age was 51 at the time of his death, and the reason for his death was undisclosed. He was a French politician who was Minister of Finance during the French Revolution. He was imprisoned during the Reign of Terror and died soon after being released. Charles-Amédée Philippe von Loo. He was born in August 1719 and he died in November 1795. His age was 76 at the time of his death, and the reason for his death was undisclosed. He was a prominent artist blending Rococo and neoclassical styles, with works displayed in various European collections. Hans Ness. He was born in October 1723 and he died in January 1795. His age was 71 at the time of his death, and the reason for his death was undisclosed. He was a Danish architect. He was one of a generation of neoclassical architects educated under Nicolas Henry Jardin and Caspar Friedrich Hasdorff. He mainly designed manor houses. Niels Lunde Ryerson. He was born in February 1742 and he died in July 1795. His age was 53 at the time of his death, and the reason for his death was undisclosed. He was a Danish government official, merchant, silk manufacturer, landowner, and philanthropist. He was the owner of the Royal Danish Silk Manufactory in Copenhagen, as well as a founding partner of the leading trading firm De Koning and Ryerson. Friedrich Christian Hager. He was born in February 1756 and he died in August 1795. His age was 39 at the time of his death, and the reason for his death was undisclosed. He was a Danish colonial commander and governor. He went to Africa in 1774 to work for the Danish Garnier Company. He became commandant of Fort Fredensborg on the Danish Gold Coast. In 1794, he received a commission as governor. Caroline von Schimmelmann. She was born in 1730 and she died in 1795. Her age was 65 at the time of her death, and the reason for her death was undisclosed. She was a key cultural figure in Denmark, supporting the arts and various philanthropic causes. Thanks for watching the video. Please don't forget to subscribe to our channel. Have a nice day.